It's a beautiful moment once again. Welcome to WTV Friday with Mr. B. This is where we look at issues as they are from the eyes of a veteran journalist, Mr. Bedan, who is a journalist of over 30 years. And it's important for him to come back at this particular time and look at the challenges that we have at the moment and see how we can move this country forward. Mr. B, good to see you this morning.
Nice.
Really appreciate it. In fact, I was just reading one of the commentaries here by Mutuma Matthew, one of the writers with The Nation. And he says, Mr. Obama emerged as a plain-spoken and honest broker who spoke truth to Kenya's shallow and corrupt political classes. You know, we are moving away from the beast
Yes.
to Air Force One,
Yes.
the hugs and the flowers
Yes.
and the dinners
Yeah.
and all that. Now to the real stuff of what he talked about. And one particular issue he spoke about was corruption.
Yes.
Unfortunately, this word corruption has become a general term that really does not mean anything at the end of it all. So from your perspective, do you think there was added vigor in the fight of corruption, or we're just at the very same place where we were even before he came?
I think that it's unfortunate that we have become inoculated against corruption. That means we as a body, let's imagine we are a biological body. When you are inoculated against a certain disease, that disease can get to you, but you don't even know. Because the body is not affected anymore by that disease. Similarly, this word corruption have become everyday thing. So when it is said, it doesn't make you move. The way if I said, hey, Johnson, there is a cobra under your feet.
Hey, that's serious. That's serious.
So that makes you, you know.
But corruption.
Yeah, and we need, when you say corruption, somebody even reacts strongly than if there was actually a cobra. So we need now to change the word corruption to killers of Kenyan society, if you want.
Killers of the Kenyan society.
Yeah. Anyone participating in corruption
He's a killer.
is a killer. And I'll give you just one example is this matatu went for inspection, and those people gave a bribe. When they gave a bribe, they had stickers and everything, and things were not proper in that matatu. And at one point, it just lost control, and it killed all the occupants. First, the road which it was to move, was also done by those Kenya cowboys who are doing roads, and they used to bribe their way, and they do substandard work, and the pothole was gaping. So when this matatu hit that pothole, which is another corruption, and the corruption that it was not properly repaired or done, so it kills most of the occupants, and then there are some people who are maimed. And those people who are maimed, they are on a wheelchair. Their central nervous system has been affected. And somebody has to take that person every day on that wheelchair. Somebody has to feed this person every day. The medical costs to that family, some had to even dispose piece of land. That is the impact.
That is indeed in fact, even
Yeah.
the narrative can continue. Some of those people who were traveling in that matatu survived,
Yeah,
were taken to a hospital
Yes.
where quacks were operating.
yeah.
So definitely,
And they didn't have even medicine that they needed. They didn't have proper theater, so other infections settles in. So this is why I would like us to change the term corruption to killers of Kenyan society.
killers of the Kenyan society.
Yeah. So when we come for an interview,
We're not going to talk about corruption anymore. We're going
Anymore.
to say the killers of the Kenyan society.
Yeah.
That's what we need to do. Because, Mr. Bedan, in fact, just to take you back to what US President Barack Obama talked about, he said corruption is not just unique for Kenya. In fact, for the many countries that he has gone to, even US, perhaps the levels are different, but corruption is a global phenomenon. But then I think that even makes it worse, because if you look at a classroom and the teacher comes in and says, you didn't do your homework, and you're the only student who didn't do his homework, you feel the pinch,
Yeah,
because
the
you're
impact is
all alone.
yes,
But if you realize that the whole class
didn't do.
do the homework, I mean, there's that mob mentality.
Yes.
So don't you think, when you say that corruption is not a unique issue in this country, it's a global phenomenon, people also look at it as, well, it happens in Europe, happens in Africa, what's the big deal in Kenya?
You see, it's like if a disease break out today, a very serious disease, and then it start killing people, like you saw Ebola killing people. Nobody once said, because people are also dying in other places, it's okay if they die of Ebola. That's how we need, even though we have been using the word corruption, and it's like we are tired, we have fatigue, we must not lose the sight that is the largest killer of this society. Whether you are looking at the Al-Shabaab, whether you are looking at any side, it is about corruption and how much it is killing Kenyans. It has become a predator against every Kenyan. You see, Johnson, when you think about corruption, you tend to think, it's only that guy who is being paid millions and billions. But think about how many people contribute to the Kenyan kit. Like now, you heard them announce our budget, we have collected 1.1 or 1 point something trillion Kenya shillings. But Mama Mboga, when she buys salt, when she buys mafuta ya kukaanga, when she buys a dress, when she is paying some tax. And when this tax is brought together, it loses the face
Of the Mama Mboga, the Juakali man and woman?
Yes. And so we see it as amorphous, something that you cannot pin, this was paid by so and so. And the people can go there and pick amount of money. If I was looking the other day, all the wealthy people in Kenya, very wealthy, it is hard to see one who never was in public service.
Huh?
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Let me get this clear. That if I was to look at the Kenyan environment,
Yeah.
the wealthiest people in this country once served in public office. Is that
Yes.
what you're saying?
Yes, that's what
That's
I'm
what you're
saying.
saying.
It's hard to get one individual who started privately and became a billionaire
Had nothing
and
to do with the government.
had nothing to do with the, yeah, that is very hard to get. Either you are appointed in a parastatal or you are appointed in government office as a minister or PS, or there is always, even where there was very little money paid to the heads of, say, parastatals, you find that they are the people with the billions.
But Mr.
Yes.
B, I want to come here because I'm really trying to understand this. Are you trying to say that it would be very impossible for somebody to become the wealthiest in the country if they were not in public service?
In Africa, that has been the shortcut. You know, because many people are coming from very poor background, from the villages. Remember, it's only in 1963 when we got independence, and there were very few people you could describe as really wealthy. And within that period of 50 years, you see people who are sleeping on the floor. Even you have heard some of the wealthiest people saying, we were sleeping on the floor, sliding inside a gunia. And now today you wonder what has happened. One of the things you find that is common is that they worked in the public offices. I think that's all I can say about that.
That's what you can say. But then the idea of public office, and this is where I really want to get the connection with corruption, because generally the Kenyan populace has grown to believe that once you become a member of parliament, a politician, definitely within your term you have to be rich. So it's more of a necessary evil. So how do we change that so that we make sure that any person who gets into public service
Yes.
actually goes out there to serve?
Yes.
And there's also this image that if you are a member of parliament and you don't have a couple of houses somewhere or some pieces of land, people begin to see you as somebody who has lost
Yeah.
to some degree. How do we reconcile that?
Yeah, that is true also. When I was growing up, I saw some people who started becoming robbers. But at that time, they would come to Nairobi and say rob a bank or something like that. And they were not stealing from the neighbor, the chicken and the things like that. But they came driving a nice car. I remember one of them who had money, this pocket was full of notes. And he said, Bedan, if you are in need, you can always tell me. I have a lot of money these days.
These days?
Yeah, yeah. And there was a rumor that he had dug a hole in the garden somewhere and put the money there so that if the police are chasing him, then the money is there. When those people became heroes, there were people who were contributing money even in Harambees. If you look at that idea that you don't feel this guy has stolen from somebody or from money from many people, depositors who put money in their banks, is that he stole from the bank. Who is the bank? It's the same concept that this guy has stolen just from say ministry or central bank or somewhere. It's something without a face. And to me, what is important now is for us, when we say this guy has stolen money from our government or from public, we start to see Mama Boga. We start to see this guy who has been jobless for many years because there is no creation of self-employment or business don't expand. We start to see that those people who failed in that school and that school and that school, as a result of maybe teachers not giving the best. Why? Because they want to have opportunity to coach. They want to coach students.
Later on, tuition.
Tuition, and everywhere tuition. Yeah? Then we hear we want to increase, we want our salaries to be increased by 300%. We may say that's okay, but why don't we have corresponding A grades going up
by 300%?
by 300%. So we accepted that idea that what is important is what I get, not the result. And the people must be given even performance contract. I wouldn't care even if you are paid very good salary. But you must, yes,
at the end.
yeah. And there is performance contract which can be, in case of public services, they are publicized. That these were your performance contract. You have failed here. So you can do business, you can live in Kenya, and you can prosper without corruption. I have not paid anybody money for corruption all my years. And I do business, I do everything. But you have to have a lot of courage to say, I'm not going to do it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Takes a lot of courage to say, I'm not going to do it. And basically, if you realize that you are part of this country, you're part of really making sure that development flows in this country, then definitely you and I have to have that courage to say no to corruption. And as Mr. B put it, perhaps it's high time we don't call it corruption, because right now it really doesn't make any sense. If I participate in corruption, then I'm a killer of the Kenyan society. That's it. That's the long and short of it. We'd really want to get your experiences in regards to corruption. Perhaps you were put in a dilemma, corruption situation. We want to really understand your stories. We want you to share your stories, the stories of the people around you. You can send that story to 20058. That's 20058. You can also post us a message. Our Twitter handle is @WTVKE. That's @WTVKE. And we'll be glad to share the same with the rest of Kenyans. We'll be right back. Don't go away. Remember, this is Friday with Mr. B.